The story opens on a quiet autumn morning. Golden leaves scatter across the winding road of Willowbrook Estates, a place Ethan Clarke hasn't seen in over 15 years. He's returned to inspect his late father's cabin, the one he inherited but never touched since the funeral. As his car rolls past the pristine white fences and manicured lawns, the air feels unnaturally controlled, too perfect, too quiet. Every mailbox is identical. Every garden trimmed to HOA regulation height. Ethan stops at the gravel driveway where the old Clarke cabin stands. It's simple, wooden, a piece of the past that doesn't fit in with the polished uniformity surrounding it. Before he can even step out, a woman in a floral blazer storms down the street, clipboard in hand. "Excuse me! You can't park here. This is private HOA property." Her tone is rehearsed authority. Ethan smiles calmly, lowering his sunglasses. "Private property? Yes, mine," her brows knit. "Not according to our records." That's the first shift. Ethan realizes the HOA has erased his name from their database. Cinematic beat. The wind rustles the leaves. A dog barks in the distance. Then, blue and red lights flicker on the asphalt. 3 police cruisers roll into the scene. The woman smirks as the officers step out. "Let's see you talk your way out of this, Judge." 2 officers approach cautiously, led by Officer Jenkins, a man who looks uncertain about being there. Linda Carver, the woman with the floral blazer, folds her arms smugly. "He's been warned before." "He's trespassing." Ethan, calm but firm, pulls a leather document pouch from his car. "Actually, this land predates your HOA charter by 30 years. Here's the original deed." Linda rolls her eyes. "Our database says this property falls under common grounds now. We voted it in." That one line, "we voted it in," instantly reveals her arrogance. She believes majority power overrides the law. Ethan's eyes narrow. "Voting doesn't change ownership, Ms. Carver." The senior officer shifts uncomfortably. "Sir, please step aside until we sort this out." Cinematic touch. The camera pans from Ethan's calm face to Linda's smug smirk, to the trembling leaves between them, a visual symbol of fragile peace before the storm. One officer lowers his hand toward his cuffs. Linda smiles like she's won. The air goes still. The soft sound of the breeze and a dog barking somewhere far off is all that's heard. Ethan lifts his hand slightly, not in surrender, but to slow the moment. His tone is calm, judicial. "Before you arrest me, check the county deed archives. Parcel 182B, Clarke Holdings." "That's me." Officer Jenkins hesitates, but Linda cuts in sharply. "We already verified that." "It's community property now." "Proceed, officer." Her voice has that brittle tone of someone used to getting their way. Jenkins swallows, clearly uneasy. Ethan locks eyes with him. "Officer, if you continue this, you'll be detaining a sitting judge under false charges." The sentence hangs like a thunderclap. Every movement stops. The officers glance at each other. One whispers, "He's a judge?" Linda's confidence falters for the first time. You're bluffing." Ethan pulls out his ID wallet and flips it open. The state seal gleams under the sunlight. Cinematic detail. The camera zooms in on the HOA president's face. Her smirk fades into disbelief. The badge catches a reflection of the police lights, a subtle metaphor for authority shifting hands. The officers lower their hands. Silence thickens between them. The senior officer steps back slightly. "Judge Clarke, we didn't realize." Ethan nods once, his tone steady but cold. "That's why it's best to ask before you assume." Linda, still trying to regain ground, snaps, "Judge or not, our HOA rules still apply." Ethan looks directly at her. "Only if they're lawful." He pockets his ID, turns toward the cabin, and steps past her, asserting ownership without confrontation. The symbolism is powerful. He walks into the cabin, his past, reclaiming not just property, but his father's legacy. Inside, the dust smells of cedar and memory. The creaking floorboards feel like whispers from another time. He touches the old mantel where his father used to hang his gavel after long days in court. He mutters quietly, "You taught me justice never shouts. It waits." Cinematic tone, orchestral music swells, gentle but foreboding. Outside, Linda watches from her car, face hardened. A shadow appears at his window that night, someone watching. It's midnight. The lake outside glimmers faintly under the moonlight. Ethan sits by the fire, reading through old property papers. The faint creak of wood breaks the silence. He gets up, finds a white envelope taped to the door. No postage, no signature. Just one typed line. You may be a judge, but here, the HOA decides what's legal. The words hit like a challenge, not legal, but personal. He burns the edge of the letter in the fireplace, eyes narrowed. The firelight reflects in his eyes, symbolizing his quiet resolve igniting. He whispers, "Then let's see how your rules stand in court." Cinematic focus. The shot lingers on the burning letter curling into ash, the start of a war neither side fully understands. The next scene opens on him walking toward the HOA building, suit pressed, face unreadable. The Willowbrook Community Center gleams with self-importance, polished glass, fake ferns, and smug posters about community excellence. Inside, a group of HOA board members sit in a semicircle, speaking like politicians on campaign night. Linda sits at the head, smiling sweetly. "Ah, Judge Clarke, here to join or to lecture?" Ethan sets his briefcase down. "Neither." "To understand," her tone drips with sarcasm. "This isn't a courtroom, Judge." He leans slightly forward, his voice steady as a verdict. "No, but it might become one." The room falls silent. Even the clock ticking sounds too loud. The board members exchange uneasy glances. They realize he isn't bluffing. Cinematic note. Camera circles the table slowly, showing shifting expressions, arrogance melting into tension. A nervous member at the back mutters, "He's serious." Linda forces a smile. "We'll see how serious he is when he faces our lawyers." As Ethan turns to leave, a janitor quietly slips him a folder, whispering, "They've been hiding something." Ethan steps out of the community center under a cloudy sky, the weight of the folder in his hand feeling heavier than it should. He opens it in his car. Inside, photocopies of meeting minutes, altered maps, and a hidden email chain between Linda and a real estate developer. Keyline reads, "Once Clarke property is cleared, we can finalize the expansion. HOA bylaws will cover any pushback." Ethan leans back, realization dawning. They weren't protecting the neighborhood. They were profiting off it, he whispers to himself. So that's what this is really about. Rain starts tapping on the windshield, soft at first, then heavier, matching the storm building inside him. He takes out his recorder and quietly says, "Day 1 of evidence log, possible fraud, falsified documents, and misuse of community funds." The headlights outside blur through raindrops, justice taking form through calm observation. He drives off toward the county records office. A black SUV pulls out a few moments later, following him. Late night. The county office parking lot is nearly empty. Ethan sits at a corner desk scanning through public archives. He finds the land registration, parcel 182B, still under Clarke Holdings. His father never transferred it. But someone added a handwritten note months ago. Annexed into HOA zone by majority vote. He frowns. Annexed property can't override ownership. It's an administrative fraud. He turns off the scanner, catches a faint reflection in the glass. The black SUV parked across the street. Engine running. Headlights dimmed. He keeps his composure, gathers his papers, and walks calmly out, locking eyes with the unseen driver through the rain-smeared window. No movement. Just presence. Ethan gets into his car, doesn't look back. Symbolism, calm under pressure. Justice doesn't fear intimidation. A text appears on his phone. "You're in over your head, Judge." The next morning, Ethan visits Sheriff Dalton, an old friend who worked with his father years ago. The sheriff's office smells of coffee and old paperwork. Dalton listens quietly as Ethan lays out the evidence. Fraud, bribery, intimidation, all under a neighborhood association? Ethan nods. With enough money behind it to hide the cracks? Dalton leans back. You'll need hard proof. Paper trails, financial transfers? Ethan smirks. Already working on it. Dalton's tone softens. Be careful. HOA corruption gets political. They'll protect each other. Camera pans slowly from Dalton's worried expression to Ethan's calm stare, the mentor warning the protagonist before the storm. As Ethan leaves, Dalton calls after him, "If your father could see this, he'd tell you not to fight alone." Ethan pauses, then quietly replies, "He taught me to finish what's right." Back at the cabin, Ethan finds something off. The door's slightly ajar. He steps in carefully. Inside, drawers opened, files scattered. A message is carved into the table. "Stop digging." He exhales slowly, not out of fear, but confirmation. They're scared. He opens a hidden compartment beneath the floorboard, his father's old lockbox. Inside, property deeds, tax records, and a faded note written in his father's handwriting. "If they ever come for this land, go to the ledger." He freezes. "Ledger!" The note points to a small chapel on the edge of the lake. The score softens, emotional piano, as Ethan realizes his father might have foreseen all this. He drives to the chapel that night, headlights cutting through mist, unaware someone's tailing him again. The chapel sits silent under the fog. Ethan steps inside with a flashlight. The pews creak beneath his boots. He kneels by the altar, remembering his father's words. Justice begins where truth hides. He finds a loose floor tile. Beneath it, a leather-bound book. The Clarke Ledger. Inside, handwritten accounts, HOA donation receipts, developer payouts, and names, including Linda Carver's. Ethan exhales sharply. His father had been documenting their corruption for years. He runs his fingers across. The page titled The Willowbrook Expansion. Project. The signatures match the ones on the fraudulent. Annexation papers. He whispers, "Dad, you already built the case. I just need to finish it." Soft candlelight flickers as the camera pans over the ledger, the truth finally unearthed. As he closes the book, a flashlight beam sweeps across the window. Someone's outside. The chapel door creaks open. Ethan ducks behind the pews. Two figures enter, voices low and angry. He's getting too close. Linda said handle it quietly. They move closer to the altar. Ethan grips his phone, recording the entire exchange. One of them kicks the pew, whispering, "You sure he even came here?" "Car's outside." "He's here!" Ethan quietly triggers the chapel's side exit and slips out the back, the night fog swallowing him. From the tree line, he looks back, the men tearing apart the floorboards, searching for what he's already taken. He dials Dalton. "I have evidence. I just recorded a felony." He reaches his car, finds all 4 tires slashed. Morning light spills across the cabin. Ethan's car sits immobilized in the driveway, mud splattered from the night chase. He stands at the porch, coffee in hand, expression unreadable. He's no longer playing defense. He sets his phone on the table, reviewing the audio from the chapel, crisp and damning. Then he calls Linda directly. "You tried to have me arrested. You sent men after me. You made this personal." Her tone sharp but shaky. "You can't prove anything." "I can. And when I do, your board will dissolve before lunch." The line goes dead. He looks at the old gavel on his mantle, his father's, the symbol of justice that doesn't shout. It ends arguments with truth. He places the ledger beside it and whispers, "Let's finish what you started, Dad." A county court summons sits on his porch, filed by the HOA, claiming defamation and interference. The morning sun filters through the window blinds, slicing light across Ethan's living room table. The HOA's court summons lies open before him, glossy paper full of arrogance. They've sued him for defamation, interference, and misuse of legal authority. He lets out a low breath, half disbelief, half amusement. They really want a courtroom? Fine. He opens a folder labeled Clarke Ledger, Exhibits A to F. The camera pans across documents, photos, and a USB drive marked Evidence Recording Chapel. He calls Sheriff Dalton. "They made the mistake of putting it on record." Dalton. "Meaning?" "It's public now. I can bury them with truth, legally." A slow orchestral swell as he looks out at the lake. Face resolute, the calm before his counterstrike. A TV in the background runs a local news teaser. Judge accused of HOA harassment. Details at 9. News vans line the streets of Willowbrook. HOA board members walk out of the community hall giving interviews, twisting the story. Linda stands before the cameras. We respect the law, but no one is above the rules, not even a judge. The scene cuts to Ethan watching quietly from his cabin. No anger, no panic, just disappointment. He turns off the TV, grabs his briefcase, and drives toward the courthouse. On the way, Dalton calls. You sure about representing yourself? No one knows the truth better than me. The drive is long and silent, golden hour light flickering across his face, symbolizing endurance over rage. At a stoplight, he notices a billboard ahead. Vote Linda Carver for County Council. Now it's clear, this was never about land. It was about power. The courthouse hums with quiet tension. Reporters whisper. HOA members sit in the audience, smugly confident. Linda enters, flanked by 2 expensive lawyers. When Ethan walks in, wearing his judicial robe but seated at the defense table, the murmurs ripple. He's not presiding today. He's the accused. The opposing lawyer smirks. Judge Clarke, first time on that side of the bench? Ethan, justice doesn't pick sides. It follows facts. The sound fades. Just the hum of the air conditioner and faint shuffle of papers. A symbolic silence before the truth. The bailiff calls the session to order. The judge presiding, an old friend of his father, looks down from the bench. Let's begin. Linda's lawyers go first. Polished, practiced, confident. They spin the story. Ethan trespassed, harassed members, endangered property values. They flash glossy HOA documents showing legal annexation. Ethan waits, silent and still. Then, when it's his turn, he stands. Voice calm, but piercing. With the court's permission, I'll enter Exhibit A, the Clarke Ledger. Whispers ripple across the room. Linda stiffens visibly. He continues. Contained here are signatures, financial transfers, and correspondence proving the HOA knowingly falsified property boundaries for profit. He plays the audio from the chapel. The men's voices echo through the courtroom. Linda said, handle it quietly. Gasps fill the room. Camera pans to Linda's face, the confident facade cracking. Her lawyer stands abruptly. Objection. Fabricated evidence. Ethan. Then let's authenticate it. Liv. The court clerk compares signatures from the ledger to official HOA filings. Perfect match. Ethan stands still, arms crossed. Not smug, just resolute. Linda's lawyer begins to sweat. This is circumstantial, Ethan interrupts softly. Not when paired with Exhibit B, an email from Mrs. Carver to developer Andrew Lorne, dated 4 weeks before annexation. He reads aloud. Once Clarke land is absorbed, expansion proceeds as planned. HOA can cover legalities. The room falls silent. Reporters scribble frantically. Linda's mask fully breaks. Her hands tremble on the table. Tight close-up on her eyes, fear replacing arrogance. The presiding judge bangs his gavel. We'll take a recess. And Mrs. Carver, you may want to speak with counsel about potential charges. Outside, reporters swarm the courthouse steps. Ethan walks through them without speaking, his face composed. Justice doesn't gloat. Dalton meets him near the parking lot. It's over? Almost. The court will finalize the ruling tomorrow, but the truth's out. They watch as Linda is escorted out of the building by investigators. Silent, pale, no press statement this time. The sky clears, sunlight breaking through clouds. Justice, not loud or vengeful, just inevitable. Later, Ethan returns to his cabin. The lake is still. The wind carries the sound of laughter from nearby homes, peace restored. He walks inside, sets his father's gavel on the desk beside the now-closed ledger. His phone buzzes. An unknown number. You just made enemies in high places, Judge. Weeks later, the HOA is dissolved. A new community charter forms, one built on transparency and fairness. Linda Carver faces charges of fraud and falsification. Developers back out. The expansion dies quietly. In a final scene, Ethan stands by his father's grave beneath the old oak tree. He places the ledger on the headstone. It's done, Dad. Your land, your legacy, it's safe. A breeze passes through the trees, scattering autumn leaves across the ground, just like in the opening scene. He smiles faintly. Justice doesn't shout. It just endures.